His old school best, can this 30-year-old Nissan Skyline R32 hold a candle to its modern day equivalent, the 2024 Nissan GTR? We're going to find out in this video. We're going to tune both cars to 600 pp and take them around the Tokyo Expressway. It's a very budget friendly build, no engine swaps, and we're going to find out which is the best. Hello everybody, thanks for stopping by. KCR-Mark here. So in today's video I've got two separate tunes for you. Both are going to be 600 pp. I thought it'd be interesting to see how these two cars will compare with each other. Both the builds are very much based on simplicity. There's no fancy engine swaps, you don't need any wide body kit, and we're only going to be using a few inexpensive tuning parts. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. We're going to start off with the absolutely legendary Nissan Skyline R32 GTR. So the car itself is available at the used car dealership on rotation, 178,600 credits. Next we're going to head to car customization. As I said before, there's no engine swap or wide body to worry about, so you can use 18 or 19 inch wheels, wide wheel width, and it's locked to standard offset. So heading on to the aero parts, really simple for this car. We're using Type A all round, so we want Type A front splitter, Type A side skirts, Type A bumper diffuser, and for the rear wing we're going to be using a Type B. If you prefer the look of the custom wing set, you can use that too. It doesn't affect the PP, it's just a cosmetic change. So next we're getting on to the tuning parts, and my first priority was to get the weight down. It's a surprisingly heavy car as standard, so we're using weight reduction stage 1, sports hard tyres, weight reduction stage 2. Ignore the next stage, you don't need the fully customised computer, I didn't use that at all. We do want the high RPM turbo though, obviously that bumps the power up quite considerably. A little tip for you, fully customised LSD and manual transmission really reduce the PP and give you a lot more performance points to play with. So with that in mind, we've upped the power a little bit more. We're using a racing intercooler, racing air filter, racing brake pads and discs are an essential pretty much on these builds. And the only other part, you need a fully customised suspension, so a really simple build this one. So all that installed, we end up with a much lighter car and a fairly healthy 542 brake horsepower to play with. So I've just enlarged the screen so you can follow my suspension and diff setups there. No great problems with the car, it's a nicely balanced car as standard. I've used quite soft spring rates, you can get away with that with the sports hard tyres. It just aids the weight transfer and it really digs in and gives it plenty of grip on the damp track at the start of the race. So in the fully customised transmission, we've left the ratios as standard for this build, just up the top speed to suit. First gear is a little bit too tall, but it's got such a lot of torque, the first gear is pretty unusable anyway, so it's best to come out of the corners in second gear, but I'll get more into that in the race itself. Elsewhere we just got the settings that we saw on the previous screen. So the car we're built, we can head to track. We're going to the World Touring Car 600 at the Tokyo Expressway, the infamous money grind event and one of my favourites. So fairly simple strategy wise for this car, it's just a one-stop race. The car will do round about 8 laps on the one tank of fuel. There's no fuel saving at all needed, and straight away you can see just how quick this car is in a straight line. Even off the rolling start, it's heading on towards 190 miles an hour at the end of the straight. I've got a really nice balance with this car. It's really quick down the straights and it's fantastic round the corners, around this infield section. It really is great fun. The temptation with this car is to use the engine swap. I've never actually driven this car on the standard engines, but I wanted to try and do a really budget build and user friendly, so those people that haven't reached level 50 yet don't need to do an engine swap, and you've got an absolutely brilliant car. As you can see, just the traction and the pace out the final hairpin of this car is pretty impressive. By the end of the straight it's going to be topping out just under 195 miles an hour, but where this thing really comes into its own is around this midfield section. It's just absolutely fantastic fun. It's really nice to balance. It feels a lot like a rally car, and if you've seen this channel before, you know that's pretty high praise coming from me. You can, once you get used to it, you can really throw it into the corners. The back end's quite nice and lively, and it's just absolutely fantastic fun to drive. I really enjoyed this car. So heading into the pits at the end of lap 7 for our one and only stop. The tyres hold out just fine, but it's worth changing them anyway. Easily make it to the end of the race with just a one pit stop strategy. So in conclusion, just so I can compare it to the 2024 car that's coming up next, a huge amount of fun. I really enjoyed this car. It really suited my style. Like I said, it reminded me a lot of the rally cars, just in the way it changes direction, how agile and nimble it was. It's just an all-round fantastic car. 207.4 was the fastest lap, so we can compare that, and it'd be interesting to see what the newer GTR can do in comparison. So from a 30-year-old Skyline, let's bring it bang up to date. This is a brand new 2024 Nissan Skyline GTR R35, and personally we're fascinated to see how this holds up against its illustrious grandkid. This car is available at all times from Brand Central from the Nissan dealership. Not a particularly expensive car, just 200,000 credits, but one thing to note is, as standard, it is very close to the 600 pp already, so we've got to be very clever with our mods on this car. So as before, fairly simple, no engine swaps or wide body, just choose whichever wheel and size you prefer, wide width, standard offset yet again. So heading on to the aero, again fairly simple, Type B front splitter, Type B side skirts, rear diffuser we're keeping as standard, and for the rear wing we're going for a Type B. Again, you can use the custom wing set if you prefer, it doesn't affect the PP rating. So next we're going to head on to the tuning parts, and this is where we've got to be very careful. It took me a long time to get this right. So we want weight reduction 1, sports hard tyres already come with the car thankfully. Now this is where we're going to gain a bit of PP back. Fully customised LSD and manual transmission give us a bit of performance points to play with, so we can add a little bit more power with the racing intercooler. The racing pads and discs are essential, it's a pretty heavy car. The racing clutch and flywheel give us a bit more responsiveness with that manual transmission, means it's not too laggy between gear changes, and the only other upgrade is a fully customised suspension, so a fairly simple, inexpensive build. So with all the upgrades complete, we end up with 571 brake horsepower, quite a bit more than the R32, but it is a much heavier car, so it'll be fascinating to see how this compares. So again, I've gone with a fairly soft suspension setup. It worked really well with the R32, and with this being a heavier car, it should help with the weight transfer quite a lot. The manual transmission seemed really good on standard ratio, so I left it as it is, just up the top speed a bit. Downforce I've just adjusted just to get it down to the 600 pp, and it seems a really good compromise between top speed and cornering. Elsewhere, all the standard, just the parts that we fitted earlier, so really simple build. So car all built, we can head to track again. We are heading to the World Touring Car 600 at Tokyo Expressway, and let's get straight into it. So again, this is a car that's a one-stop strategy. It's a little bit more marginal on fuel than the R32, but still fairly simple. You don't need to do any fuel adjustments at all, and again the tyres work really well. Again, the same as the R32, it's a very fast car in a straight line. It's actually quite a bit quicker, as you'll see as the race goes on. I was pretty surprised how quick this thing is in a straight line, considering the extra weight that it's carrying about. Now this is a part of the video where I was fully expecting to be moaning how heavy modern cars are and they feel sluggish and lifeless, but I'm pleased to report I was completely wrong. This thing is an absolute weapon. I couldn't believe how good it was. I was absolutely shocked how good it is. But bearing in mind that it's quite a bit heavier than the R32, so I thought it was going to be a bit lethargic through the corners and just quick down the straights, but no, I was wrong. It's an absolute weapon everywhere. It does 205 miles an hour down the end of the straight, and through the middle section it's probably as good, if not better, than the R32. It's certainly much easier to drive. It's really stable, and it turns in like you wouldn't believe such a heavy car to turn in. It's just got so much grip. I think the weight does actually benefit it a little bit there, because it seems to plant it down on the ground, but I was just absolutely blown away how good this car is through the infill section. It's absolutely fantastic. It's phenomenally quick. So really easy car, strategy wise, there's no fuel saving needed. It will make it to the end of lap 6 before you have to make your one and only pit stop. It's absolutely fine on tyres, you could go the whole race without changing them, but I just wanted to go for fastest laps. And while we're on the subject of fastest laps, check this out. An absolutely rapid fastest lap of 2:06.8, and the 2 previous laps before it exactly the same time, within 0.002 of a second of each other. I really wasn't expecting this car to be anywhere near that quick, and it shows just how consistent and easy to drive on the limit this car is. So closing off the race for a fairly easy victory and another amazing skyline. As you can see, the lap times were really consistent once the track dried out. It was just an absolute flying machine, and one that really shocked me how good it was. So in conclusion, I'd highly recommend both of these builds. They're both absolutely great fun for this track. The R32 was slightly nicer to drive in my opinion, just a lot more darty and more fun, but the R35 was definitely a surprise package, much easier to drive and surprisingly a lot quicker than the R32, over a second quicker in the end. But for the main verdict, I'm just going to say, which car would I drive home to put in my lottery dream car garage? Well, it's just not even close. Cheers for watching, I'll see you again soon, bye.